G'day boys and girls, today we are going to look at the Makita 40V DA001G right angle drill. It is a big monster of a drill. But if we're going to review this tool, we kind of need to put it up against something, don't we? We need something to compare it to. And I guess the obvious choice is the 18x2. This was first released as an 18x2 tool over on the LXT platform, and then it was given a little bit of an upgrade and turned into a 40V tool. So we'll look at the differences between them, shall we? Can I get a 18x2? I sure can, because here it is, the DDA460, the 18V ×2 right angle drill from Makita. So I'll give you some of those specs on these things, and then we will run them through a few tests, starting off with small drill bits going right up to something quite big, I guess. And we'll just see how much difference there is between the two of them. What? You want to see the other one, don't you? I knew it. I knew this would happen. I knew if I got one of these, you'd all want to see it up against a different brand. Some of you want to see it up against this for sure, but there's another brand, isn't there? Yeah, I can hear you. I hear you. Okay, hang on, give me a second. How will we do that? Okay, if you all yell it at the same time, maybe it'll happen. So, which brand of tool do you want to see up against the 40V Makita? No, you got to do louder than that, come on. Okay, ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3, yell it. Well done for yelling. Yes, here it is, the Milwaukee M18 Fuel Super Hawg. Not just a hog, but a Super Hawg. This is the beast drill that so many people rave about. We will see if it can cope with the 40V Makita, or whether the Makita 40V can cope with this. This is the industry leader, probably, certainly with cordless right angle drill, stud drills, whatever you want to call them. This is the thing to set yourself against. All three tools have 2 speeds. The 40V max low speed is 0 to 400. That's right, it's variable speed trigger as well. All three of them have that. So 400, 350, 500. That's for the low speed. And on the top speeds, we've got 1500, 1400, and 1550. So this one, with the lowest voltage, has the highest speeds. But speed isn't everything. All three tools have keyed chucks, and all three tools have somewhere to keep the chuck key on the tool. All three tools have a light. Because of the nature of right angle drills compared to normal drills, they each have a handle on the top above where your drill bit is, which helps give you downward force right where you're drilling. But because the handles are much bigger on the Makitas, these two are about 130mm wide, whereas this tool's only 100 wide, so you'll be able to get into slightly tighter spaces with this. Anyway, I just need to go and use the Makita 40V for something else, and then we'll get back to the test. Can the Milwaukee do this? Clay's quite wet here, and it's just slid through it nicely. Left a beautiful looking hole there, nice and smooth on the sides and the bottom. Now, where was I up to before that rude interruption? Oh, by the way, not only is this tool made in Japan, but even the Allen keys are made in Japan. Alright, back to a drill. All three of them have 1/2 inch 3-jaw chucks, and each one of them can also take a side handle on the left or the right. 2 of them are made in Japan, 1 of them is made in China. They all have forward and reverse switches, and they all have variable speed triggers. The 2 Makitas both have a movable handle with detent points. The Milwaukee is in a stationary position. Both Makitas have a power switch that you need to turn on before you pull the trigger, whereas the Milwaukee you just pull the trigger like on a standard drill. Now some people aren't going to like that, but trust me, it's a good idea, because both of these tools can also get used for, well, you saw it earlier. And if you're using an auger, well, you do not want to accidentally hit that trigger as you're carrying the thing and slice your leg up. But don't worry, it stays on a good long time. Above the power switch there's also a torque light on each one. So when you are drilling away and the tool requires more torque and it changes gear automatically, that light will come on. Personally, I don't see why they really need it. But anyway, quite a few Makita tools have this, and I never even notice when they're being used because they're not usually in a place where you're looking while you're using the tool. Now a lot of people get pretty hung up about chucks. So let's take a closer look at the chucks. And do they look pretty similar? Well, these two are branded as Makita. This one is branded as Jacobs. But they look the same. They feel the same. And the font that is stamped into the chucks is the same, and all the data about the chucks is identical on all three chucks. So I think we can come to the conclusion that they're all using Jacobs chucks, except the Makita ones have been branded Makita, and so you're getting the same chuck no matter which tool you buy. Right, let's go drill some holes. First up, a Bosch Daredevil 1.5 inch self-drilling spade bit. 1.5 inches. That's a strange way to say it, tools. Shouldn't you be saying 38mm? The switches on the two Makitas lock in place. You have to push in this button to turn it, and then it clicks out and locks in place again on the other gear, whereas the Milwaukee you can just flick backwards and forwards, no lock on that one. Once again, maybe due to the fact that they wanted to use this as an auger. Bonus point if you can tell me down in the comment section what these two threaded holes are on the 40V tool. I'll be drilling through this 8x2. I won't drill through these knots here, of course, so it's fairly even. Be about 5 holes per drill, you reckon? We'll start with the 18x2. The two 36V Makitas will be running at 5 amp hours. Two 18V 5 amp hours makes that 36V 5 amp hour. One 40V 5 amp hour, so that's 36 volts 5 amp hour. And on the Milwaukee, what do? Do we do 5 amp hour 18V, or do we do 12? That'd be the equivalent of 6 amp hours at 36V. I know most of you, especially the Milwaukee guys, are going to want to see that battery, so I guess we'll just go with that, eh? Or I could... No, better not. And yes, these are genuine batteries. They look different in America to what they look like in other parts of the world, okay? They're not fake. And we're not going to pussyfoot around. We're going top speed on all three tools. 3, 2, 1... Three, two, one. All three tools handled that test well. I couldn't really tell much of a difference between the three of them. You will have seen it on screen by now, so you'll know which one was quicker, but they all felt the same pretty much to me. They all did the job fine. There was no problems with any of them. I'd be happy to use any of the three of them. So we better take it up a notch. Next up, this somewhat larger 65mm self-feeding bit. 65mm is approximately, well, it's just over 2.5 inches. 3, 2, 1... Three, two, one. Three, two, one. Wow. Okay. Surprising. Now that was surprising. I was expecting the Milwaukee to be able to do that no problem, but halfway through each hole it became bogged down and cut out. Just couldn't quite do it in one full whack on the highest mode. This is where buffheads who don't understand what I'm trying to do here start commenting that I should be using it in the low gear, but I'm comparing them to see which one has the most grunt, and clearly the Milwaukee failed that test. Now I was expecting them all to do it, and now that this one hasn't, I kind of want to do another test. I was going to leave it there, but I'd like to do something a little bit bigger and see what happens with the Milwaukee, and we'll try them on the lower gears. I've got a few hole saws that are bigger than that, but not a huge amount bigger. I'm thinking maybe we try a similar sort of bit, because that has to remove a lot of timber, so I might go and grab a larger one of those if I can, and yeah, I'll get back to you. So I looked at getting one of these a lot bigger, and the biggest one I could find was about 115mm, I think it was, and I went to buy that, but the guys at Handy Hardware wanted to see something else driven with these big drills, so they talked me into this. A 190mm hole saw. That's nearly 8 inches. So it's torture test time. I'll start each one on the highest setting just for fun, just to see if any of them can do it. I don't think they will, but then we'll drop it onto the low gear and see if they can all do it in that or not. Some days are better than others. First up, the 18x2. Yikes. Braces. Not bad. Not bad. Low gear. So, the Super Hawg on top speed. Put it in the right direction. Let's go. Not gonna happen, of course. Let's chuck her into low. Now, I ran the Milwaukee with the biggest battery they make, so I think it's only fair to run the 40 volt here with the new 8 amp hour battery instead of the little 5 amp hour there. So let's do it, higher speed first. Low speed. Righto, I think a sufficient amount of weeks have gone past that I can wrap this one up now. When it came to testing these tools, it's a bit different from, say, impact drivers, where you're whacking in the screws and it's pretty quick and easy to compare them to each other. These, it's hard to do speed tests. As you would have seen with human error and with drilling implements rather than screws, they clog up, drill bits clog up and hole saws teeth clog up. So it's pretty hard to do a fair test to see who's the fastest. Like when I tested this versus this in the video, this won. But if I put all those spade bit tests back to back, then it's a lot closer. But basically they're all really good drills, and I like using all of them. I do prefer the handle design on the Makita, just for stability. It just feels a bit nicer to hold on to, and the one on the Milwaukee is a little bit odd shape to get used to, and this I find easier. How many of you have worked out what that's for, huh? Down in the comments. So in the low gears, they all do really well. These two have a bit more torque in the higher gears, whereas the Milwaukee cuts out a bit. Can't quite handle the bigger hole saws and stuff with the high speed, which is fair enough, not really designed for that. So when all is said and done, in order, they basically go like that for torque. The 40 volt Makita just has a bit more torque in that higher speed. So on some tasks, it was a little bit hard to tell who was ahead and who was behind. They all felt fairly similar. This beat this sometimes, this beat this. It was pretty close, but the 40 volt overall is a bit quicker and has a bit more torque than the other two. But like I say, they're all pretty similar and all really good drills. So all things being equal when it came to price and what you wanted, then this one is the better tool. But not by a great margin. Of course, if you've already got the 18 volt Milwaukee batteries, you're going to go for that. I haven't done enough drilling to know about overheating. This is perhaps a bit more likely to overheat than these two, being that they're a higher voltage. They don't overheat so much usually. But each time I've used them, I've only been doing a few holes at a time. So yeah. Anyway, so I'll be keeping the 40 volt one, and I will see you on another video pretty darn soon. Cheers, guys. I wonder how that does with an Earth Auger. Let's put this on them all and try this again.